Hi everybody and welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Today is episode 10 of my Beatles UK album series, so please come and join me. So hello and a very warm welcome today to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Hope I found all you fantastic Beatles people doing really well out there, and thank you so much for joining me again on the channel. Well, the subject for today's showing is the Beatles UK album series episode 10, which continues with the UK 1960s pressings of my favourite Beatles LP, The Beatles, affectionately known of course as the White Album, and as always I've got some really great copies to show you guys, which I'm sure you're going to love. So in this series, as previously mentioned, I will only be showing original copies and pressings made between March 1963 and May 1970. So an interesting fact about the White Album is that George Martin actually wanted this to be a single album, so that got me thinking, out of the 30 songs, what tracks would I choose for a single White Album? So to make this actually a single album, I've gone through all the tracks and come up with what I feel to be a perfect single White Album. Taking into account 2 tracks for George and 1 track for Ringo, I've made this a 16-track album. So if you want to see my choices, why not check out the description and let me know in the comments what you think and what would yours be if you were faced with that daunting challenge. So now it's time for a little bit of something different, and it's Ask BeatleDave, yeah! So yes, welcome to Ask BeatleDave, where I'll be answering your questions that you have about anything Beatles related, perhaps about anything I've shown, or anything Beatles related, Apple, or anything solo, and I'll endeavour to answer it here for you. So today's question is from Michael Noland. Hi Michael, hope you're well. Michael's got a great YouTube channel. And he asks, BeatleDave, which version of Revolver do you prefer, mono or stereo? Now that really is a tough question, I think, and it really depends on your taste and if you like the sound separation or not. Now, having listened to both mono and stereo first edition UK albums many times, I'm going to definitely say mono is my preferred version here, simply because it just seems to be more punchy, more dynamic, and has much more gusto in the mix, and clearly more time and care was spent on the album. So I'm not saying really that I don't like the stereo mix, I don't like the way it's separated or the placement of everything, and it's just not as sonically pleasing to me. So technically that's the shorter answer from me, but I'm sure there's plenty of debate on this one. So Michael, I really hope that pretty much answers your question for you, and if any of you guys want to contribute to Ask BeatleDave, just send me a question in the comments and I'll make sure that it gets into a future episode. It's that simple. So come on guys, please me by getting involved and ask me some super questions. Right, okay, now it's time for I Call Your Name. So yes, it's on to them old shout outs, and it's a great big BeatleDave hello to David Heafield. Hiya David, hope you're well. Stephen Tansley Sr., Mitter Biquettes, The Theme Park Person, Alan Laframboise, Paul Soulsby, Dave Eaglestone, and Small World. So it's a great big hi to you guys from yours truly, BeatleDave. So on to the main event then today, and we continue with the Beatles' original UK album series, episode 10, and The Beatles. So please, come and join me. The Beatles' 9th studio album was released in the UK on the 22nd of November 1968, with the USA release 3 days later. Instantly and affectionately known as the White Album, it was released exactly 5 years after their second UK LP with the Beatles. Many of the included 30 songs were written while the Beatles were in India studying transcendental meditation with the Maharishi. After their return from India, they gathered at George Harrison's bungalow to make some demos of their current songs. Recording sessions started proper in May and finished in October 1968 using Abbey Road as well as Trident Studios. With the working title of A Doll's House, much had changed since their last recording sessions, with arguments breaking out over creative differences, and also John's new girlfriend, Yoko Ono, was now present at every session, which subverted the Beatles' policy of no girlfriends or wives at the sessions. Hey Jude was also recorded at the end of July 1968 during the sessions for the Beatles and was issued as a single nearly 3 months before the album's release. It was their first release on Apple Records and ultimately the band's most successful single in the US. The B-side Revolution was a different version of the album's Revolution 1, but John Lennon wanted the original version of Revolution to be released as a single, but the other three Beatles objected that it was just too slow. After a series of various problems, including producer George Martin taking an unannounced holiday and engineer Jeff Emmerich suddenly quitting during a session, however, the tensions finally culminating when Ringo decided to leave the band. Ringo had abruptly left the studio on the 22nd of August during the session for Back in the USSR, feeling that his role in the group was peripheral and upset at McCartney's constant criticism of his drumming on the track. Spending 2 weeks on Peter Sellers' boat, Lennon, McCartney and Harrison pleaded with him to reconsider, and Ringo returned on the 5th of September with his drum kit decorated with flowers courtesy of George. George Martin tried to advise and convince the Beatles into making a really great single album by cutting around half the tracks, but the Beatles were adamant in their decision to make the album a double LP because of the wealth of material they had to use. The Beatles was the last album to be mixed separately for stereo and mono, although the USA had already started phasing out mono records some time before. However, quite a few mixes have different track lengths, missing or different overdubs and effects which differ from the stereo mixes. Designed by Richard Hamilton and Paul McCartney, the album cover featured a stark white cover with no text or graphic, only the embossed name and serial number. This was intended as a direct contrast to the vivid album cover of their previous album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. In the UK, the Beatles debuted at number 1 on the 7th of December 1968 and spent 7 weeks at number 1 in the UK album chart and altogether spending a further 22 weeks on the charts. However, in the US, the album achieved huge commercial success, selling over 3.3 million copies within the first 4 days of the album's release. A review in the Observer newspaper by Tony Palmer stated, "If there is still any doubt that Lennon and McCartney are the greatest songwriters since Schubert on this album, then surely you should see the last vestiges of cultural snobbery and prejudice swept away in a deluge of joyful music making." So let's take a look. So here is then The Beatles, released on the 22nd of November 1968, catalogue number PMC 7067-7068 on Apple Records, and all sleeves of this particular album were produced by Garrett and Lofthouse International Limited, and as you can see it's got the serial number bottom right there and the Beatles embossed on the front, and very stark cover. So looking at the cover then, and this one's in really great shape, slightly yellowish as most of them turn yellow in time. Really lovely shine on this though, and you can see the Beatles there embossed, and then bottom right the number on this particular mono edition is 44,952, and what a great album this really is, an absolutely monumental Beatles album. Let's flip that over, of course on the back completely stark white there. So we'll just take a look inside then, and you've got all the 30 tracks, most of them written in India. A real diverse range of songs there, which is probably what makes this album so fantastic really. And then you've got all the details below that, Hayes, Middlesex, England, and the Garrett and Lofthouse details there. All the flip backs on the inside of the sleeve, and then you've got the 4 guys photographed in 1968. And then we'll take a look at that spine if you can see it. A lot of White Albums suffered with these spines, but hopefully you might be able to see something. There we go. So on to the original souvenir poster and lyric sheet then. And actually you would have got this with your original 1968 White Album, and of course all subsequent copies as well. And the way the actual poster was designed is that each separate image on each page is actually supposed to stand alone as well. So that's quite a clever thing. But let's just take a look at these first two sections. So you've got George in the middle there with John above, Paul left, and Ringo on the right. And I'll unfold that. So it's supposed to work a section all on its own, but when you unfold it all, of course, you've got this massive collage. So we'll go to the next two sections, which is that bit there. And of course they missed the naked Paul, or partially naked Paul there in the middle. Wasn't censored on the British poster. And then finally we've got the last two sections of the poster there at the bottom. John and Yoko slightly naked there. And some other great photos. You've got the ghostly Paul image there at the bottom there with some ghostly hands on Paul there. And then on the reverse to that, you've got all the lyrics for all the songs. So along with your souvenir poster then, you've got your souvenir portraits of the guys. With the original copies you had this little paper spacer. We'll just move that out of the way. And so we got some really great portraits of the guys. These are original ones and they're quite a thick card as well. Nice and shiny. Luckily none of these have got pinholes or sellotape marks on them, as many do, which you can understand. And there's Paul. There's George. And of course Ringo. Of course then, with original issues, you've got your black die-cut Apple original sleeve. This one being in absolutely fantastic condition and no tears. So on to record one vinyl then. And an absolutely momentous start to this album with Back in the USSR. And some absolute classic tracks on this side with Dear Prudence, Glass Onion, of course While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and closing with Happiness is a Warm Gun. Absolutely super side. Really, really fantastic. On these Apple issues, of course, you've got the Apple Records rim around the outside there at the top. We've got the sold in UK details on this issue with the Beatles and productions and orchestrations by George Martin. Now on this particular copy, as we look at 9 o'clock there, there's no an EMI recording details on this particular issue. This is the very first issue that was available. But we've got the 33 1/3 there with manufactured in the UK and side 1. And at 9 o'clock we've got the catalogue number PMC 7067 with the P 1968. Then all the track listings there at the bottom. And the matrix on side 1 is XEX 709-1. And I absolutely love the mono mix as well. Really fantastic. Going to flip that over and spin that round. So on to side 2, which is a lot quieter, starting with Martha My Dear, I'm So Tired, Blackbird, Piggies, Rocky Raccoon, Ringo's Don't Pass Me By, Why Don't We Do It in the Road, I Will, and Julia. Fantastic side. And once again there we've got the Apple rim, Apple Records rim, with the sold in UK details. Got the Beatles and the production and orchestrations by George Martin. And once again at 9 o'clock there's no EMI recording information, but we've got the 33 1/3 manufactured in the UK and side 2 there. And over to 3 o'clock the PMC 7067 and the P 1968. With the matrix on side 2 is XEX 710-1. And this is in absolutely beautiful shape. This was actually the first mono white album I ever got. This is a really nice condition one. So on to the second Black Apple inner then. And this one's in great shape as well. But just don't store your records in these guys, because these really are quite harsh, sadly. But they certainly do look fantastic, but just much too harsh. So on to record 2 then. More outstanding tracks on this side. with Birthday, Yer Blues, Mother Nature's Son, Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey, Sexy Sadie, Helter Skelter and Long Long Long. Of course it was set out actually to have the heavier tracks on sides 1 and 3 with the more quieter tracks on sides 2 and 4, and it certainly doesn't disappoint. Once again then we got the Apple Records perimeter there with the sold in UK details, with the Beatles and production and orchestrations by George Martin. With on the left hand side then we've got no and EMI recording text on the left, but we've got the 33 1/3 manufactured in the UK and side 3. And then on the right hand side we've got the catalogue number, this one being PMC 7068 for this record, and of course the Circle P 1968. And the matrix on this side is XEX 711-1. So we're going to flip that over. Onto side 4 then, some more fantastic tracks. Revolution 1, Honey Pie, Savoy Truffle, Cry Baby Cry, Revolution 9, which is actually a fold down from the stereo mix, and Good Night. We've got the Apple Records perimeter there with the sold in UK details, the Beatles and productions and orchestrations by George Martin in under that. There's no EMI recording details again on the left, but you've got the 33 1/3 manufactured in the UK with side 4, and then on the right hand side we've got the PMC 7068 with the Circle P 1968. So finally on side 4 the matrix is XEX 712-1. So on to my second mono copy then of the Beatles, catalogue number PMC 7067-7068, released on the 22nd of November 1968 on Apple Records. This particular number on this record is 190,457. So once again, another great looking sleeve, just slightly yellow with a few little creases on the right hand side there. And then we've got the Beatles embossed again with the number there, bottom right. And I forgot to mention about obviously being a top loader, so obviously all the records and everything goes into the top there. All original issues did that. So let's flip that over again. Got a little price sticker there, 2 and 9 is it, or something? Looks like 2 and 9. Another great looking sleeve, and of course we got the gatefold once again. Really looking nice with the guys on the right hand side, and you've got your flip backs left and right. And let's take a look at that spine. So onto the souvenir poster again then, of course designed by Richard Hamilton and Paul. Lots of photos from the guys. I'm guessing they must have raided all their pictures and to actually contribute to the actual poster. There's still some really good photos of the guys on there. So on to the portraits then. No spacer in this particular issue, but we got the 4 portraits. And there's John, Paul, George and Ringo. Really great looking pictures these. And then we've got the black inner once again, another great looking inner. This one's in really great shape. So onto the vinyl then, and of course the mono and the stereo editions are both very different listening experiences. I had the stereo version first, and it was really just like listening to a completely different record when I got the mono one, because there's so many differences on a lot of the tracks. It really is fantastic to actually hear it all again. Really great sounding record. Of course, we've got the Apple Records perimeter text there with the sold in UK details, and the Beatles with the production and orchestrations by George Martin. Now on this copy we've got an EMI recording on the left there with the 33 1/3 manufactured in the UK and side 1. And at 3 o'clock there we got the PMC 7067 with the Circle P 1968. And the matrix on side 1 is XEX 709-1. And let's flip that, spin round. Once again, a really great looking label. These Apple ones are really fantastic from the period, really look great. You got the Apple Records text again round the rim with the sold in UK details, the Beatles, productions and orchestrations by George Martin, an EMI recording on the left with 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK and side 2. At 9 o'clock we've got the PMC 7067 and the Circle P 1968. And the matrix being XEX 710-1. And this one also is in absolutely fantastic condition. And then record 2, black die cut in a bag, that's in absolutely super shape as well. So on to the final mono vinyl then I've got to show. And this is obviously record 2 then, sides 3 and 4. The actual label on this particular one is a lot greener than some of the others I've seen actually. And we've got the Apple Records perimeter print there with the sold in UK details, with the Beatles and the productions and orchestrations by George Martin. And of course on this particular version we've got an EMI recording on the left with the 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK and side 3. With the PMC 7068 and the Circle P 1968 there on the right hand side. And the matrix being on side 3 is XEX 711-1. Really great condition this one. Let's flip that over. And then we've got side 4. You've got the Apple Records perimeter print again with the sold in UK details, the Beatles and production and orchestrations by George Martin. You've got an EMI recording with the 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK and side 4 on the left, with the PMC 7068 and the Circle P 1968 on the right. And the final matrix on this mono edition is XEX 712-1. Really hard to get these mono editions now in anywhere near mint condition. So difficult. So on to the stereo editions of the Beatles then, released on the 22nd of November 1968 on Apple Records, catalogue number PCS 7067/7068. And this particular sleeve is numbered 351,410. So, let's take a look at that. There's the number. This is a really nice shiny sleeve, really looking good. You've got the embossed the Beatles there. And of course the only way to tell the difference between a mono and a stereo sleeve is that top right on the back you have the little stereo indicator there. That's the only difference you can tell. But that's in really great shape. And of course you've got the gatefold sleeve once again. And then the spine. So we've got our souvenir poster again, and that one's in pretty good shape as well. Onto the portraits again. We've got a spacer with this particular one. There we go, we've got John, Paul, George and Ringo again. And then the Apple black inner. So onto the stereo vinyl then. And this one's in absolutely great shape as well. Fantastic looking apples on these, really nice looking. Slightly dark, especially to the right hand side. But we've got that Apple Records perimeter print there with the sold in UK details, with the Beatles and the productions and orchestrations by George Martin. On this particular copy there's no EMI recording details on the left. This is a lot harder to find actually on the stereo editions, but more common on the mono. And we've got the 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK, with the side 1 there. And over at 3 o'clock you got stereo, written stereo there, with the catalogue number PCS 7067 and the circled P 1968. With the matrix on side 1 being YEX 709-1. I'm going to flip that over, and then we've got side 2. Once again you've got the Apple Records perimeter print with the sold in UK details, the Beatles, and production and orchestrations by George Martin, with the 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK, and side 2. And on the opposite side we've got the stereo, PCS 7067 and the circle P 1968, with the matrix being YEX 710-1. Really great looking vinyl, that. So we've got the Apple Records die cut inner then. This one's in absolutely fantastic shape. Really hard to find these days in great shape. There's a lot of repro ones out there as well though. So on to vinyl 2 then. Once again, this is in absolutely fantastic shape. Really brilliant condition this. Probably mint condition really, pretty much. In lovely condition. Once again then we've got the Apple Records around the perimeter there, with the sold in UK details, the Beatles, and the production and orchestrations by George Martin, with the no EMI print on the left hand side, and the 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK, and side 3 on the left, with the stereo, PCS 7068 and the P 1968 on the right, with the matrix being on side 3 YEX 711-1. I'm going to flip that, and then we're on to side 4 now. We've got the Apple Records print around the outside there, around the perimeter, with the sold in UK details, the Beatles, production and orchestrations by George Martin, and no EMI recording details on the left. Much harder to find these without that. And the 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK, and side 4. Obviously on the right then we've got the stereo with the PCS 7068 and the circle P 1968 there. And if you've ever listened to Revolution 9 in stereo, it is quite an amazing listen. There's always something I find, next time I always play it, I always find something different to hear. So the side 4 matrix then is YEX 712-1. So on to my second and final stereo edition from 1968, released on the 22nd of November 1968, catalogue number PCS 7067/7068, released on Apple Records then. The number on this particular sleeve is 530,013. So, once again, we've got a fabulous looking sleeve. Really nice and shiny, that. Got the Beatles embossed there, with the number there. And on the reverse, of course, we've got that stereo indicator top right. Really in good shape, this. Very, very hard to find a completely white copy of the Beatles. Very, very difficult. And once again, got all the track listings with the photos of the guys. And then our spine. So on to the souvenir poster and lyric sheet then, and this one's in fabulous shape once again. It's in great condition, and that's got all the details up there, all your credits, top and bottom, with the Hayes Middlesex details there at the bottom. So on to the portraits then, and there's a spacer there. Not sure if that's an original one, it just seemed a little bit smaller, but it may well be. And of course then we got John, Paul, and these are all in great shape as well. George, and of course Ringo. With the black inner die cut sleeve then present once again. So on to record 1, And this variation being, it does have the EMI recording details on the left, as you can see. You got the Apple Records perimeter print with the sold in UK details, the Beatles and the production and orchestrations by George Martin with the 33 1/3, and you've got the manufactured in the UK with side 1 on the left and stereo PCS 7067 on the right with the Circle P 1968, with the matrix being YEX 709-1 on side 1. You're going to flip that over, and once again on side 2 you've got the Apple Records perimeter print with the sold in UK details, the Beatles and the production and orchestrations by George Martin with an EMI recording on the left with 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK, and side 2 with the stereo PCS 7067 and the Circle P 1968 on the right there, with the matrix on side 2 being YEX 710-1. Once again, we've got that black inner. It's in great shape. So on to vinyl 2 then. And this one's also in fantastic shape. That's the last record. Really looking good. You got the Apple Records perimeter print there with the sold in UK details, with the Beatles and the production and orchestrations by George Martin. On this copy again we've got the EMI recording details on the left with the 33 1/3, the manufactured in the UK, and side 3 with the stereo PCS 7068 and the Circle P 1968 on the right there, with the matrix on side 3 being YEX 711-1. And then finally going to flip that over for the final side, and all the details are the same there with the Apple Records perimeter print there and the sold in UK details, the Beatles, productions and orchestrations by George Martin. You've got the EMI recording details on the left with the 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK, and side 4 with the stereo PCS 7068, Circle P 1968 on the right there. And finally, the final side matrix is YEX 712-1. And this one's a really beautiful looking record. Really nice mint condition there. So thank you all for joining me today, guys, and tuning in. Really hope you've enjoyed seeing those fantastic White Album LPs. And as always, I appreciate any comments I get from any of you, and I will always come back to you just as soon as I can. So the next original UK album series will be back again next month with the Yellow Submarine LP, which was released just a few months after the White Album in early 1969. So next week's video, I will be showing the John Lennon Plastic Ono Band LP, live piece in Toronto 1969, and I've got quite a lot of great variations to show you guys as well. So don't forget to be here next week, same Beatles time, same Beatles channel. So anyway, as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, why not give us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is BeatleDave signing off.